Let me tell you something right out the gate. If you've never had your morning ruined by a knock that sounds like the law is trying to evict a ghost, count your blessings. That's exactly how my Friday kicked off. Not a cup of coffee, not even a sock on my foot, before a sheriff's deputy banged on my cabin door hard enough to scare the pine board straight. And wouldn't you know it, my phone's buzzing too. I don't know then, right after Ivy, the property manager, shoots me a text that says, "They called 911 on you. Answer the door. I'm close." You ever get that drop in your gut where you're just awake enough to know this day's about to be one for the books? Yeah, that happened. Out the frosty window, two cruisers crawl up my parking pad, red and blue lights spinning against the birch trees, reflecting off my porch glass, floats. Right behind them, there's that bronze SUV board chairs, pride and joy, and a lineup of other HOA sticker mobiles stacking up like they were about to sell cookies, not stir up hell. I open the door, and the cold nearly punches my teeth out mountain air. Pine wood smoke thick as old secrets. My dogs, Cricket and Tonka, just freeze mid-tug of war like they sense the tension. The deputy guy looks more nervous than me, honestly tips his hat, says, "They got a report of a trespasser in this dwelling." In my dwelling, I ask, putting a little honey in my voice just to see what happens. He glances back at the parade of HOA, then his notepad. Board says you're not allowed to occupy the cabin right now. You got another house down the mountain, right? For community fairness, they want rotational access. Rotational access? I swear sometimes reality just gets up and leaves the room. But see, I've done my time in real estate due diligence, a little construction compliance on the side, so when folks start spouting nonsense, I can keep a poker face. "Come in by the fire," I say. "I'll grab my ID and the property records." Ivy's not here yet, but Tonka's on high alert, and already there's the board chair. Let's call her Ara coming up the steps, scarf red as a warning light, flanked by Hale and Danica, the usual suspects. They just barrel in boots, dripping snow, deputy dodging entitled wool coats. Ara's finger jabs the hearth. "We require you to relocate so everyone gets a fair shake. There was a lottery your name came up to vacate." I taste that phrase, volunteer pool, like it's a rotten berry. Ask her to repeat it. And she says they sent out an email. I didn't respond, so the board voted. The deputy gives me that silent plea. "Just make this normal, please." I pull out the leather folder, flip it open on the table next to my half-finished trout stream puzzle. "This cabin is fee simple, absolute," I say, laying out deed plat, title, all the joyless paperwork that keeps the world spinning. The HOA runs the road, the well, the mailboxes, can't reassign private dwellings. My covenants don't give neighbors temporary rights, nor does state law. There's common property and there's private property. Ara folds her arms, says they passed an equitable usage resolution adopted by a majority. You weren't there. The deputy scratches his cheek. Behind him, the younger cop's petting Cricket and reading my frame survey. "Deputy, I say if you got called about a trespasser, let's be clear. I'm the owner. These folks are trespassing and making a false report." Hale sniffs. "We're enforcing the rules. It's not false if you're non-compliant." That's when my palms go warm, part adrenaline, part absurd humor. I moved up here to escape city nonsense, breathe clean air, stack my firewood, This place is supposed to be my peace, my church. The HOA. Just trim the willows, keep the well pump thawed, maybe sweep the road after a storm. But power sniffs around and suddenly folks want to experiment. Deputy says it's 17 degrees, doesn't want anyone getting heated, asks if we can talk outside. I oblige Boots, squeak his shoulders. Drop the second the door shuts. "Listen, he says we don't usually enforce HOA stuff. Dispatch got told you were a squatter because your name's not on the water list, plus an unknown car. That SUV's theirs, right?" I show him my license, the deed. He relaxes, says he'll log it, just needs to clear the interior policy. But before I can answer, Ara's backout lawyer hat on. "We called law enforcement for safety. His propane isn't vented, chimney's not inspected." Which is wild because my chimney's new lined, certified with paperwork right on my bulletin board. Propane heaters sealed combustion professionally installed. Ivy finally shows up, parked in a flurry, cheeks red bun messy under a mustard beanie. What's going on, she asks. Equitable usage, says Ara. False trespass report, I answer. The younger officer finally speaks up. He owns the home. This isn't trespass. Ara pivots to safety. Violations claims bylaws let them force me out in emergencies. Bylaws don't give you police powers, I say, smiling even though I want to scream. Ivy pipes up. We did your chimney inspection in August. Amos signed it. It's in the files. Ara's mouth twitches. Then there's the water share. He's got 2 cabin and lower house. The new resolution says he can only have 1. Ivy blinks. That's not what the covenants say. Deputy takes a breath, says, unless it's criminal, this is civil. You're not invited here. Please leave. There's a standoff silent except the sound of snow dripping. The board tries to argue, but deputy holds firm. Bylaws don't trump trespass law. Finally, they retreat, but not before hissing. This isn't over. The community doesn't tolerate selfishness. When they're gone, the deputy tells me to keep my cameras on. If they call again with false stuff, it's misuse of emergency services. Ivy stands beside me, says, they're going to escalate. I just press my forehead to the cold post and laugh. Let's make sure they trip over every legal line we can draw. Back inside, I pour hot cider for Ivy and me. She sits on the couch, gloves off with her teeth, and we review what's next. She tells me the board had a closed session about resource balancing, like a timeshare pitch nobody asked for. Closed sessions are for legal matters only, I remind her. They're calling it a temporary equitable policy. Ivy, practical as gravity, just tweaks my thermostat, then grins. Step 1, document everything. Step 2, certified cease and desist. Step 3, open meeting complaint. Step 4, motion camera on the porch. Step 5, no more polite chats if they trespass again. She warns they'll try harassing me with notices about barking dog snow firewood height. We'll answer each with receipts and code sections, I tell her. And they've got to get reelected. She hands me a fat folder, every notice they've sent residents in 6 months. Patterns help court see intent, she says. She tells me about Narita. Out on the ridge, they tried to make her remove a wheelchair ramp for being the wrong shade of wood. Introduce me, I say. If they want a chorus, let's bring one. After Ivy leaves, I log everything, date, time, who said what. Rotational access scan, the documents upload porch cam footage. Boring, maybe, but the truth's got a long fuse. Next morning, sure enough, a notice is taped to my porch: vacate for equitable usage assignment by Friday, or face $200 a day fines and suspension of road privileges. Typos everywhere, scared folks always rush. I scan it, email it to Ivy, my lawyer buddy Lars, the sheriff, and the deputy. Then I send the board a crisp, certified letter. I do not consent to entry or vacate requests. Your actions are trespass and a false report. Cease and desist. Anyone entering will be reported. A day later, someone parks at my easement and photographs my driveway. Another violation notice, non-neutral firewood stack. Another for an unauthorized sign, a tiny plaque saying, please close gate, dogs roam. I answer each with citations, ask for complainants' names. Crickets. Then comes the fine schedule, equitable usage, $200 a day starting Friday. So Friday, I set up a GoPro coffee and hand dogs at my feet ready for the parade. 4:12 p.m., 3 SUVs and a 4x4 with a snowplow nose up. Board members, plus folks, hovering like witnesses at a crime scene. Some guy I've never seen carries a duffel like he's planning a ski weekend. Ara hands me a final notice, dramatic as ever: vacate by 5 or face fines, towing suspension of services. I raise an eyebrow. Services like Water Road. Danica starts recording with her phone. Ivy arrives, clipboard out, clear voice. You're trespassing. The association has no interest in this cabin. You will leave. Hale laughs. You're just a contractor. Ivy shows him a letter from Lars state statutes limits on board power criminal code about extortion, misuse of 911. Deputy pulls up, all business, tells them to leave unless they have a court order. They don't. Balloon deflates, they leave. Of course it doesn't stop. Next, I get a notice at my lower house, water shut off for improper power usage. Ivy just shakes her head. They try this on everyone. Most folks cave. Not me. We file complaints with the state, send everything meeting violations, unauthorized fines, threats. I drive out to see Narita. She's sharp, calm, ramp, beautiful cedar. HOA wanted it wood, tone neutral. She cracks me up. They want me to stain wood the color of wood. We gather more cases, photos, notices. Other neighbors join in stories about nocturnal noise, which was just a generator test. By week's end, we've got a stack of absurdity and a plan for the next board meeting. Meeting night community centers, a warmed-up garage with folding chairs. Ara's on her soapbox about equitable usage, talking utilization, disparity, access, equity. Like, she picked up the words at a conference. She never says my name, but everyone knows. I raise my hand, get ignored, so I stand and go to the mic anyway. I own the cabin on Birch Point. The board tried to evict me with a resolution nobody got notice for. Here's a certified letter, 911 dispatch log, unauthorized fines. Here's the state statute. Hale tries to cut me off. No legal lectures. Then stop breaking the law. I say and someone snorts. I invite anyone cited unfairly to bring their notices up. Narita rolls in. Ellen brings his nocturnal noise paper. Even Shy Finch drops a mailbox photo. Suddenly the whole room is standing together, laughing, sharing, realizing they're a crowd, not just whispers. The board tries to table the policy. Not good enough, I say. We want it rescinded, fines refunded, and a recall vote for the board. Ivy helps with the numbers. We have quorum. Motion carries plain as daylight. The board adjourns in a hurry, but the vote's on paper, on video, and everyone gets a copy. Weeks quiet after that. Fines vanish, bland emails float around, but the board's lost their grip. Then the burner account emails start. HOA truths 123. Fair share for all. Calling me greedy. Accusing Ivy of being on my payroll. Pushing the same tired lies. All traced to the HOA office, which makes me laugh. We file a civil suit. Not nuclear, just for trespass, harassment, and defamation against the HOA and board members personally. 2 days later, Hale's caught on my porch camera trying the door handle at 6 a.m., hard hat and all, taping up an unsafe structure vacate notice. No seal, no signature, all theater. Deputy comes, arrest him for criminal trespass. Ara calls, tries for an off-the-record meeting. I send her to my lawyer and schedule mediation with a retired judge. Mediation's in a strip mall across from cinnamon rolls the size of your face. The judge hears the timeline, sees the footage, tells the board flat out, you don't have this authority, you'll rescind the resolution. Refund fines, apologize, and promise never to do this again. By afternoon, we've got signatures, the board's paying part of my fees, getting mandatory training, even Ivy's clapping. That could have been the end, but it wasn't. Recall vote comes, Narita's elected. Ellen passes, Ivy stays the same skeptic we all need. New board's first act. A resolution to respect private property. Keep meetings open. Never threaten services. Burner emails are traced. Danica settles, resigns. The state investigation finds violations. Orders training posts a letter at the mail kiosk, quoting Ellen. No good rule requires a secret meeting. The mountain finally exhales. I split time between houses, pay dues, wave at the plow, answer emails, and keep the firewood dry. If your neighbors decide your home's an experiment, here's what you do. Document, organize, read the boring stuff, show up, and never leave your own porch unless you choose. You don't need to shout, just bring the facts. Laws are level, they're heavy, but true. A new neighbor asked if this was real. They called 911. I said, tried to kick me out for someone else's vacation. He blinked. How'd it end? With statutes and soup, I answered. You knock with nonsense. Eventually the door opens onto neighbors with receipts. The HOA learned consequences. We got our mountain back. So next spring I hosted a potluck under string lights Narita's ramp in full view, no board cares. If I ever make a dumb rule, I told everyone, just tell me to shut up. If you test your generator at midnight, I'll wave and wear earplugs. That's community. That's the win. Now let me ask, when power tries to bulldoze your porch, what would you do? Would you stay quiet or rally the neighbors? Drop your story below. Let's hear what real justice looks like. And hey, if you made it this far, hit subscribe, share your thoughts, and remember, never underestimate the power of calm, stubborn neighbors holding all the receipts.